So the Eastern Conference playoffs are pretty wild because you have 4 teams who are all hoping to make the NBA Finals, but those same teams also have some uncertainty with their futures, and if a disappointing loss comes up, the NBA could be really shaken. I mean, Kyrie could leave the Celtics this year, which you have to assume affects where Anthony Davis ends up getting traded to. We've all heard the Kawhi Leonard rumors, and then Jimmy Butler's fit with Philly is constantly being questioned, and while it seems like everything is going great for the Bucks right now, we should never pencil in that a team is not going to have a disappointing playoff finish, and there's still some questions if the team around Giannis is really good enough to win. Now, of course, this season has been great for them, so maybe they'll be fine, but there's a chance that the front office would have to make some tough decisions, and that's pretty scary because Giannis does not have that much time left on his contract. And what's crazy is this could all come to a head in the second round. I mean, the Sixers would be facing the Raptors if the standings held up, and the Celtics would be facing the Bucks. I mean, one of these teams, of course, has to lose, and both of them would view it as a major disappointment that could shake up their team for years to come. And then let's say the Eastern Conference Finals ends up being the Bucks and the Raptors, which would probably be my pick as of right now. I'm still going to assume that the outcome of that series would send shockwaves through those two teams, and as a result, the rest of the league. Now, we are going to talk about each one of these teams. We're going to start with the 76ers, who, from a basketball standpoint, are probably the most awkward out of these 4 teams. So, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are the 2 main guys on this roster, right? At this point, Ben Simmons is probably better than Jimmy Butler, if we're being honest. Joel Embiid, of course, takes the most shots. He is the best player. Ben Simmons is the primary ball handler and all that. And it's probably the best idea to just surround these 2 with as much shooting as you can possibly put out there. And Tobias Harris makes a lot of sense for that, because he's one of the better three-point shooters in the league, but he also has enough ball handling skills to play off of those 2, and he's fine with not having the ball all the time, whereas, as everybody has pointed out, Jimmy Butler, it's an awkward fit, okay? It just is. Now, you can say some things in terms of Joel Embiid just got hurt, and Jimmy hasn't been here that long, but if Butler expects to take the ball away from Simmons and Embiid and get a max contract given his age and his recent antics and injury history, I think that's a pretty tough sell, especially because if the Sixers let him walk, they would have some cap space to get more shooting around their 3 main guys. If we move on to the Boston Celtics, I mean, as a Celtics fan, this season has been confusing, frustrating, discouraging, at times encouraging, but overall a big disappointment, and Kyrie Irving's bad leadership definitely didn't help things. Now, the fact that he has apologized and acknowledged that he was not doing things the right way and he was overly combative and condescending to the young guys, that's a good sign. I don't think they're out of the woods. I mean, there are still questions about Gordon Hayward and how good he is, and can this team gel together in time to beat a really good Eastern Conference opponent? And if that doesn't happen, then who knows what Kyrie Irving wants to do. For what it's worth, I don't think Kyrie even knows what he's going to do. I think he's going to let the playoffs happen, and depending on just how happy he is and the way the tone of the team is, that's probably going to make his decision. So in other words, they're going to have a really good playoff run, and based on the way this season has gone, are we sure that's going to happen? Because I'm not. And of course, with the Kyrie rumors also comes the idea that he could join Kevin Durant in New York, which would be the ultimate revival of the New York Knicks. There's also the idea that he could go to LA to play with LeBron, and then that would bring the Lakers back to some form of contention. I mean, Kyrie himself could really change the landscape of the league. Now, Kawhi Leonard may be just as big of a weirdo as Kyrie Irving is. The difference being, you could talk me into the idea that Kawhi already knows what he's going to do this offseason, and a lot of people who have connections that I don't would suggest that he's going to be gone. And the only way for the Raptors to change his mind would be if they went on a finals run. which is of course quite a lot to ask for, but at the same time, they do have the talent to do it, so I don't think we should just assume that Kawhi Leonard is not going to be on the Raptors next season, and if he re-signs, these guys are going to continue to be a title contender, but if he leaves, of course, a lot of people think he is going to go to the Los Angeles Clippers, a team that has done an expert job of freeing up cap space, getting young players, still having good veterans on the roster with Gallinari and Lou Williams that you could pair up with Kawhi Leonard, and it seems that Kawhi wants to go to Los Angeles. And I mentioned Kevin Durant earlier, gonna say it again, the idea of him joining the Clippers, it is out there. But again, if the Raptors have a great playoff run, maybe he could actually stick around. Now for the actual basketball stuff, which I think you can apply to the Raptors, whereas with the Celtics it's more just like the team makeup, I guess. We don't know which Kyle Lowry we're going to get in the postseason. He's had stretches this year where his scoring has been awful. Now his playmaking and his defense and his leadership have still been there, but you got to be able to make shots in the playoffs, and between him and some other guys on this team who you can dare to shoot open threes, that's going to be interesting stuff. And finally, the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis's contract is up after 2021, and the fact that they got so good so quickly with the addition of Brook Lopez and the resurgence of Eric Bledsoe and the hiring of Mike Budenholzer is pretty insane, because if this was a mediocre year, then it's possible that we could have started hearing Giannis trade rumors probably by the beginning of next season. And given how good they've been, it's safe to say that it's not going to happen just yet. But again, the talent around Giannis, it's good. It could potentially be even very good, but we're going to have to see if all these other guys can have enough big moments around Giannis. Now, with that being said, they're still my pick to make the NBA Finals, but things happen every playoffs that we don't see coming. So if somebody disappoints, or if this team as a whole disappoints, or hell, maybe even Giannis doesn't go nuclear like we all expect him to, then this front office may have to decide, you know what, maybe it's not worth giving Chris Middleton $25 million a year, which is probably what some other team is going to offer him. And maybe that forces Giannis to have second thoughts about staying here long term. So basically, you never know with this stuff. But we do know that the Eastern Conference playoffs are going to be really damn fun.